Hi, guys. This is the first episode of our new podcast, Technically Together. Joshua thought of that name, and it's awesome. It's brilliant.
I
Yeah,
might I
basically.
add, I thought of it like first try.
Yeah, he did. He did think of it just like that. And I think that's why we're doing the podcast, because he thought of a good name, and we decided. No, I'm kidding. um,
We should
so
do
this
something with that name.
so this is actually just gonna be for intros, right? We're gonna be talking about what we're trying to do here exactly, why the podcast is named that way, what is going on, not in the grand scheme of things, but just in this podcast, because that's the only thing we can control right now. I'm very fatalistic today. I'm sorry. It's for context, it is 1:40 p.m. where I'm at. I'm having coffee, and Joshua is having. What are you having?
Well, it's 10:40 p.m. where I am, so it's 1:40 p.m. for you on a Monday,
Yes.
and it's 10:40 p.m. for me on a Sunday. So that should give everybody a clue as to why it's called Technically Together. It's because we are in a relationship. However, there's literally an entire ocean between us. I feel like a lot of people who follow us kind of know this, but this is our intro. This is
Yeah.
how we're figuring it out. So with that in mind, I'm sure that the shoe will be on the other foot once in a while. But she's got coffee since it's 1:40. I have a Japanese highball in my cup. This one's literally made. Like I've been. I wonder how far we should go into like checking in on one another. I mean, that's kind of the point of this podcast. But
Yeah.
just saying, like, I'm not really a huge drinker, as Issa knows. But quarantine has got me drinking more, I gotta say.
It's
So-
it's okay. I have been drinking like every night, and I have been dragging my whole family into it to the point that last night, my mom was literally like, "Are we turning into like, are we drinking too much?" Because I started this quarantine getting drunk with like I think 2 shots of whatever I'm drinking, and now I'm downing by myself half a bottle of soju, and I'm chill. So it's yeah, it's a pandemic for you. But just to put it into context, this is how we are normally, right? Technically Together is the product of us realizing, we're in a long distance relationship and we're always on calls, and we've always wanted to share this part of our relationship. Does
we
that
get
sound
asked it
right?
a
Like,
lot.
yeah, we get asked about it a lot. We've been wanting to share this. For context, if you are not a techie or don't follow tech, hi, we are tech creators. Joshua longer than I have times, I don't know, I can't do math. But we did meet at a tech show. We were covering a tech show. We met in Taipei, and it's how many years down the line? And we're still on this call to make it like sound romantic, right? We're still
Well, I
on
mean,
call.
we're always on call. That's not the song. It's always on time is the song. But yeah, like we're always there when you call. That's the line from the song. Yeah,
Does
that's the song.
copyright work on? No, I can sing it. I don't know.
Well, it was like less than 2 seconds of it, so you're fine. But yes, you're gonna get a glimpse into literally how Issa and I are, and just speaking personally, like I'm happy to be like I work on a lot of different things. I have many different projects. I'm actually going to make it clear to everybody that this is more or less like Issa's project in a way. Like this is her baby, and I just want to be here to support it. And I'm really happy to just take her lead on this. So yeah, we're just gonna get together weekly, hopefully on a very consistent basis,
Yep.
because I know how hard that is to do with a podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, like one thing that I wanted to put out there though is that Technically Together, being that yes, we are together, but also technically because we literally haven't seen each other since January, which was a tech
I'm
show.
sad.
I know. But since then, and we don't know when we'll see each other again. So even in the busy / crazy work lives that Issa and I have, this is one of the few ways that we can actually sit down and talk and connect. Like we talk every day via like
Yeah.
messaging, and we do video calls once in a while. But
I mean,
this
we
will
used
be,
to do it every day, but like I think everything's been crazy, and it's like a lot of it. I mean, personally, I know it's a lot of it is me also like just sitting in my corner and keeping my head down, just so I'm like moving, you know, that we haven't actually had as many calls as we used to.
Which I agree with, but I also think it's like not really a bad or a good thing. Like it's a bad thing in the sense that we miss each other. I know I miss you, and I
I miss
miss
you
like,
too, don't worry.
and I didn't mean it that way. But what I mean is like, we obviously miss each other, and we want to be able to do that more often. But it's also a matter of the word's not comfort. We are both very. We both know. I mean, with lockdown and quarantine, we know where we are. Like we know what
Yeah.
the other person's up to. And since we work in
Yeah.
the same field, which is why, we can come together with a show like this, um, yeah, with the work that we have, we kind of know what the other person's basically up to. So it's not a matter of not checking up on one another. It's just a matter of like we also are rather fiercely independent people.
Yeah.
So we do
And
our own thing and then we come together at some point.
yeah, and another thing though that I wanted to point out for a lot of people who are asking, this isn't technically technically a tech podcast. Like we wanted to do something that talked about like other aspects of our life. Like for sure there will be tech. I mean, I don't think we can help it. But this podcast is really, I don't know, maybe it's an excuse for us to talk together and to share this part of our lives. A lot, like Joshua mentioned earlier, a lot of people who know us know our situation, but you'd also be surprised at how many people just assume we're always just together and are surprised when they find out that we've been in this long distance relationship for so long. And it's a very, what is the word, unique situation.
Oh yeah,
And
for sure.
I think that it's also like, I don't know, it's a lot of things I don't know these days, but I know that this is something, I knew that this was something that I'd enjoy doing, and I figured, like, why not, right? We have so many conversations. One thing to note is that me and Joshua are talkers. Like, we are two very different people, like, very different. I can't stress that enough, but we are both talkers. No, but I mean, it's true. It's like, we tackle things differently. Sometimes we process things differently. But it's also, we are very big communicators.
Yeah.
And like we thought it would be interesting to just like show this dynamic to the world. Actually, one of the main reasons why I also wanted to do this was because once upon like what early on in the pandemic, I decided to do like Facebook live shows, and I had you on. And
Oh,
it was
yeah.
funny to me that one of the comments for that live was that it was interesting to see Joshua talk about things other than tech and be very chill about things. I mean, I know you're always chill. I know how you are, but like, I keep on touching the mic, I'm sorry. I know how you are, but I don't think a lot of people see that side of you as well. Like, I think a lot of people look at you and think, oh, tech guy, you know?
Yeah. It's well, I mean, we know this because we literally get to hear from everyone via comments and tweets and all of that stuff. Like it's
We see it all, guys.
yeah, and not to put a negative spin on any of it, but it's the whole it's sort of the us being able to just be ourselves
Yeah.
is the antithesis to the stay in your lane like dumb comment, some people kind of have sometimes, like stick to phones or like just talk
Oh my
about tag,
God.
that kind of thing. And Issa, more than me, has done a lot of content outside of tech, and she's way more vocal on places like social media. Like as she says, I'm glad and grateful that you say I'm always calm or chill or something like that. I personally don't think so, but I guess I am to some people because I've heard it from multiple
You
people.
are. You are. Yeah.
I work really well. It's also a lot of work. It's like they say that happiness is work. That you have to actually put in the work to put yourself in a place of stasis and to put yourself in a place where you are stable and all that stuff. And that comes down to a bunch of stuff like diet, meditation, like a lot, exercise, all these things. And even then, just sort of my environment. Like
Yeah.
even right now, I had a stressful day today. Not going to talk about it specifically, like it's nothing bad, but I had a stressful day today, and part of the reason why is because, how do I do this? Part of the reason why is because if I move, now you can't see it in the frame. There's a
What?
ton of boxes on the
Oh,
floor
yeah.
that I need to get rid of. And like I said, like if I look at my floor right now, it actually makes me upset. And if I look at my bed right now with all my stuff on here, it makes me upset.
Yes.
So like there's work involved in making sure that I'm in a place that is conducive, you know, which is true also for like, and these are all things that we can end up talking about in the show is like these, we can pick the one aspect of something that the two of us have opinions on and it becomes a full show, you know?
Yeah.
So
You would be surprised at the conversations we have. Like, it's interesting. There's so many things. There are so many aspects to this relationship, I think, that I would love to share with people. It's like aspects on having a long distance relationship or having a Filipino relationship. Like, I mean, we're both Filipinos, but Joshua had a different upbringing as I have. You know, it's stuff like that. I get questions on like how our values align, or I mean, how we just make sure that our relationship throughout the long distance is running smoothly. That sounds like it's a tech video. No,
Well,
that
a little
sounds
bit.
very weirdly tech about a
How do we-
relationship. That's
how do we optimize our relationship?
if it's buttery smooth, it's running
Yeah.
buttery smooth.
The
But I
buttons
mean,
feel meaty.
but you know what I mean? I just really felt like it's a conversation that I would love to have with you, with Joshua. Why am I talking to you or the people? Yeah, guys, this is my first podcast. I am literally, we are winging this.
Yeah. Which you know what I actually love, because some of the best things that Issa's ever done has been because of winging it. So that's why I was like, I'll follow your lead. This is perfectly fine with me. Like, I can talk for days, and I'll be here with you. And it's funny, she's right. Like, we definitely are talkers. Just the other day when we were like catching up with one another a little bit, and we were just talking through a couple of things that we were going through, it turned into a 4-hour call, like a 3 or 4
Yeah.
hour call,
I
because
mean,
we
we've-
went on so many different tangents and things we wanted to say and things we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Even just updating each other. Like, one of the simplest things that a communicator does is, if I were to say something, you would end up going, oh, and you know about that. Oh, and here's, and also about that, or here's how I feel about that. You know, that kind of thing. It's like really engaging with even the minute
Yeah.
details of each other's lives.
Yeah. And I think it's like you'd be surprised at how long-winded conversations we have are. Like this isn't even, this is our normal conversation. Like we have long ass conversations. And it's like earlier deciding on how long this would be, we decided we wanted it like probably 30 minutes to an hour, but that's actually short in terms of the conversations we have.
Oh, yeah.
It's we talk a lot, and I mean that's one answer to a question that we always get, right? How do we like work this relationship throughout the distance? It's really, one of it is that we talk a lot and we talk things out, you know.
Yes, it does turn into that. Like, even if in the moment there are times when we just can't say anything, because there are times when that happens, emotions are high, or you just need a moment, or you need to cool down or something like that. But once we both are able to get to the point where communication is possible, it becomes something that we can actually talk through, and there's no winning.
Sorry,
There's
there was
no-
a coffee bean that got into my mouth.
It's okay.
I suck at making coffee, and Joshua used to make me coffee, so sorry. Okay, go on.
Yet another thing we'll talk about eventually. But yeah, it's once it gets to the point where communication is something that the both of us can actually do, then that conversation blossoms into how do we tackle this. And you know
Yeah.
what? To anybody out there who's kind of thinking about relationships as a one side meets the other side situation, that's very much not the case with us. I get that there are some relationships where some people would be like, I have to win this. You know, it's my way. You know, and then there might be a back and forth where the other person gets the it's my way as well. If the situation, it's for us, it's a case by case basis. Like, if there are situations where one person definitely concedes that they're like, okay, I get it, that's not the way it should be, and I agree, then fine. But most of the time, we have to just understand where the other person's coming from. It doesn't change how we feel about the other person. It doesn't change, like, fundamentally, it shouldn't really change our opinions and our love for that person. But we both just have to understand where the other person's coming from and show that empathy.
I think that, you know,
because
you
you're right, we
mentioned
are very
empathy,
different. We're hugely different people. So there are times when we just can't. We meet a wall. Like there are just times where we just aren't able to figure like a final conclusion out. But that's okay, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I like to explain it as how Joshua is like I'm gonna say he is centered. He's gonna say he tries to be centered. He assesses things. He looks at things and decides on what to do. And literally how I am is I run into everything that I can run into, and if I hit a wall, I run another direction. Like that is how I explain it, really. Like in like when it comes to like how we are, that's really just how it is. And that, if you know us, you'd see that seep into the things that we do. Like, whereas if Joshua wants to plan out a podcast, he's gonna have stuff at the back of his head already set up for that.
Yeah, and I'm actually actively trying not to steer the show right now.
And on the other hand, I literally figured out how to sign into StreamYard like a few minutes before this show. This morning I was having coffee and Joshua was asking me like if I had bullet points, and I literally thought it up when I was sitting there. And now we're doing this podcast as we go. And it's like, I think one of the main things that I also, and this just clicked right now. See, this is why we have conversations, because I am also recognizing things as I talk to you, and talk things through with you. Yeah. Like, one of the main things is also respect for how the other is, which you mentioned in so many words before.
Many words. Like, in way too many words. That's my problem.
No, I love it, actually. There was this one time where we were having a casual conversation and you said a word that I never heard, that I always wanted to use in a conversation. And I forget what it is, but I remember we were driving and you said it. And I said, I can't believe you said that, because I've always wanted to use that word, but never had anyone, like, I'm not a native English speaker. But I mean, if you've ever visited the Philippines, you'd know that we all speak in English, almost everyone. I mean, not speak, but everyone will be able to understand you in a way that wouldn't be possible if you're like in another area in Asia, which doesn't have, you know what I mean. I'm not even gonna explain this right now. But so, like, I used to read a lot, and I remember reading this word, and I'm like, I've never had this conversation. Okay, whatever.
I wish you could remember what the word is.
I don't know, like, but I remember just stopping when you said that, and me going like, I can't believe you said that word. That's so amazing.
Actually, I remember what your reaction was. You were like, when I said it, you like touched my arm. I was driving, as I usually am, and she touches my arm, and she goes, "Nice." And I'm like, no, but that was like, when you said that word. I've never heard anyone use that word in regular conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not even like a crazy word, right? Like, it's just a nice word that people don't usually use in casual conversation.
The thing is, thankfully, though, I think, I don't know if you'll agree with this, but like, I do my best to have vocabulary like that. And what's funny is I don't even use it too often. It just kind of comes up based on the situation. Like this morning, I had a brunch, like a Zoom brunch with a bunch of my friends from San Diego that I went to college with. No flowery or fancy words in that conversation. Shit, like what I just said was really what the conversation was like. Like, we're all just saying like, oh fuck, shit. No, I mean,
I think it happens, right? Like, I mean, I think even more to me than you, because we've had this conversation about videos. You write the way you talk. So how your videos are, you write a script, you read it, or you just say it, that's how you are. On the other hand, like for me, because one, it may come weird to people because I'm Filipino, and yes, English is my second language, but I do think in English. Not probably in the way your English is, but like I realized this even more because I just shot a very raw video about how I felt and my mental health, and I didn't script it. And all my thoughts came out in English. I was expecting it to be like a Taglish video to explain how I felt. And everything came out as I was processing it in English.
There were like
And,
a couple
like,
of words, but yes.
There were
it was-
like, yeah, but like I imagined it to be more though. Like I imagined it to be like, because I do like weird ass skit videos in my other channel. And those are usually with Tagalog. Like, it's like, but I realized that me talking to myself, which was what that video was in English. Does that make sense? Like, I
Yeah.
converse with it felt so weird though. Because it's like, it's still not the English that native English speakers speak.
I don't know. I
But
don't
it's-
think it really came off that way ultimately. Like maybe when it was all said and done and you look back on it, you're like, wow, that entire, what was it, a 12-minute video, like was all English. But it didn't come off like you were at all limited in the things that you wanted to say and how to say it. It never really came off that way.
I mean, that's good, but like, I recognize though that, okay, for context, guys, it's one of the weirdest videos I've made. I just needed to make sense of how I was feeling. It's up on my channel. Like, you'll find it if you, I don't know, message us if you want to find it. But my point is, like, it was just so surprising to me because for the first time, this was a video. And Joshua knows this about me. Like, sometimes I have conversations with him, but it's really just me hashing my thoughts out.
Yeah.
So he's there. I love him. He participates. But it's really a conversation with myself. And for the first
Which
time ever,
the only times that gets frustrating is when I don't clue into that right away. and I'm trying to respond and get feedback also, but no, it's not about me in that moment.
I'm sorry, but it's also, but I mean,
Which
it's
is fine.
also
It's
something.
completely valid to have those conversations where it's like, this is me hashing things out in my brain out loud. Totally get that. It's just on my end, and we know this, like, if I don't clue into it right away, I think I'm part of this. No, I'm not. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, another tangent is it helps to know yourself when you're in a relationship, because had I not recognized this, had I not verbalized it to him, had we not noticed this, those conversations could have been ticking time bombs, right? Because
Kinda,
it
yeah.
would have been a conversation where I was unresponsive to what you were saying and both of us become frustrated. But since like we've figured this out, like I know this, you know this about me, like it happens and we are more accepting and respectful of how that process is.
yeah, totally.
But like
We just
going
have to
back
be
to it,
we just have to be cognizant of it.
yeah. But yeah,
So
going
sorry,
back
go
to the original point, it was just so weird to me because this was the first time I actually caught it on video. And I watched it back and I was surprised at how the process went. Because I mean, I have them with you. You've seen me do it. I've never seen myself do it. Is that like a weird way? Like, I've never heard myself assess my own situation.
No,
Like,
that's
this is
fair.
a first for me, and it was very surprising to me.
And for further context, for anybody listening or watching this, welcome to the channel. It was a video about her, like it was, well, what was the title for it again? Pandemic
It
mental
was a
health
mental
check.
health check. Yeah.
Yes.
I just unloaded. I think is the best term for
And not
it.
even in like an angry way. It was just like I just really trying to get out all of these feelings that you've had that you may or may not have been not bottling up, but there are not a whole lot of outlets right now for us to actually let those things out. Like, who are we going to yell at? Our parents? And then it's going to turn into a whole different issue
Yeah.
at that point, you know? And like,
And don't yell at your parents.
exactly is what I'm saying. But like, even then, you know, there might be the question of, well, why didn't you call your boyfriend? Or if I was going through something, why didn't you call your girlfriend or something?
I
like
mean,
that?
I did though.
Well, okay. In this context, yes, absolutely. Like, you did call me. We had a bit of a we had to align our communication for a second there.
Yeah.
But then once we did, you were able to let it out, and I was able to be there for you. You know, and
All
all I was.
snot faced and everything.
What was that?
All snot faced in that conversation.
Oh yeah, and yeah, and it was just one of those. It was one of those situations where maybe a lot that has been pent up needed to finally be said. And not necessarily that you were just being upset at the world or upset at things in particular. It wasn't even that. It was just the fact that you were upset. Because
Yeah.
that's the thing that no one really acknowledges, I feel like. They always want to point it somewhere. When in reality, the main thing, and this is coming from, I guess, cool JV, calm and collected JV, I guess. It's the whole idea that the actual emotion and the actual expression that you are having is probably more important than the thing you are directing it at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that comes from within. The fact that I am angry is more important than the fact that I'm angry at this person who parked bad next to me. True story.
That's a good way of putting it. I never thought about it that way. But
Yeah,
yes. Yes.
because yeah, like if I realize that I am that upset about something, I can figure out the reasons why that are beyond just the one thing that triggered me, because it was there already. Which is why I say
Yeah.
this Zen JV that some people might believe is there. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying people say it. This Zen portion of me is really here because I'm very meticulous about the optimization of myself and my environment.
Oh, he
So-
is. Yeah, I can vouch for that. Another difference, like, let me just point this out because I've always found this funny. Whereas I literally have something and try to work it to get what I want in terms of work, in terms of like shooting or creativity. Joshua has everything he needs optimized in the way that he needs to use it, and even then keeps an eye out for even more optimization.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Whereas
And-
I'm here, like, trying to figure out the smallest freaking camera to shoot with, so that I don't ever get bothered. So it's a very interesting dynamic, and I think at some point I'd love to talk about that too, like the difference in dynamics when it comes to shooting or working, because we actually work pretty well together, even if
Mhm.
we don't work together. Does that make sense? Like,
True.
we work together, but we don't work together.
Well, this is a great example. This very show.
Yeah.
You know, and but even physically, when we're working together, there's just. By the way, and this is a conversation for just me and Issa, but I'm gonna say it on the air. By the way, I promise that in the future, when the two of us are in the same room working together, it will be chill hop in the background and not other stuff.
Not game.
Well, mostly Game Grumps or like talk shows and stuff. That's yet another topic that we can have on hand, is like the reason why I need to have background stuff. But as I have been learning in this quarantine, because I have been forced for the past 5 months to only have those comfort zone things in the background, I am realizing that they are doing more harm than good. So I have found a lot of YouTube channels that have really chill, like Chill Hop and Lo-Fi, and you know,
I like
really
Chill Hop.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Chill Hop is literally what I use in my videos. So I gotta like be more. I have to be more cognizant of that. I have to be less reticent to not have my comfort zone stuff in the background.
Did you reticent?
Yeah.
Was reticent the word?
It might have.
I don't think it was the word. I
that
don't
is
think
a
it
good
was
word.
that, but it's one of those things that you say too that I'm like, that's hot. Um, anyway.
But yeah, that's the thing. But the thing is, when we are physically together, we do actually work really well together. And part of the
Yeah.
reason why is because, like I said before, we are actually quite fiercely independent people. We know how we work for ourselves in such a way that doesn't impede on the other person. So you'll literally
Yeah.
be sitting on the couch in my office with your laptop on your lap, typing away or just editing something. Meanwhile, I'm running across all three of my tables, each one doing something different, but I'm kind of
Yeah.
freaking zipping around, and one is for overhead
Yeah.
rig, one is for B-roll, one is for A-roll. Just kinda
And then he drops everything when I stop and say I'm hungry. Like, this is the funniest. Like, the one time that you did this, and I knew you knew me. In my heart, I knew you knew me. We were working, and then I stopped, and then I said, I'm hungry. You literally dropped what you were doing and walked over to me and said, okay, let's go. And I'm like, okay, what is going on? Like, why are you dropping everything? And then you go like, when you get like that, takes a few more minutes until it's bad, so we better feed you.
Because all it takes when she's really hungry is for something to annoy her. And because she's, again, looking at environment and circumstances as optimizations, because she's hungry, it makes her less resilient to stress. So
That's true, and that's a very nice way of putting it. It's very poetic versus
hangry.
saying
She
I
gets
get
hangry.
hangry. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna
really
keep.
it.
I'm gonna say that now. I'm gonna say I'm less resilient to stress when I do not have fuel in me.
Meanwhile, and again, yet another topic that we'll talk about one day is the fact that when she does get a little bit of that food craving or hunger, it's got to be satiated, and then we're back to status quo. In my case, I actively fast, and I train myself, body and mind, to not push past. I'm not pushing past it, I'm just letting it go. Like, it's fasting. Fasting is just knowing that hunger is a reaction, and I don't need to have a reaction to literally everything. You know, so.
Like fasting is an empty tank, and I'm not gonna run with an empty tank.
That's the thing. I have plenty in the tank, is what I know
Yeah.
from fasting. But anyway, that's yet another topic. But like, I hope you'll forgive me, babe.
Yeah.
We're at 32 minutes, and it's taken this long for me to not steer the show. I do want to just point out that if I don't know how long you want this first episode to be, but I have an idea. We can either talk
What?
about, for the last 10-15 minutes, the video you did and talk about some mental health stuff for this first episode, or maybe we can share a couple of origin stories of our relationship and of each other.
Oh, okay.
Unless you
Well,
want to save
okay.
either of those things for their own episode.
I mean, I don't know, up to you, but I just want to point out at the 30-second mark that he he just did that because I said that was part of the bullet points that we were gonna do, except for the mental health part. So he basically.
Oh, you brought it up, so I'm just
Yeah, but
flowing.
you are basically organizing it while I, the person who wanted to spearhead the show, is sitting here waiting for the show to go wherever it was going. And also, number two, that's how most of our conversations are. Like, you saw all the tangents we had, and this was just an intro.
Yeah.
And that's basically how our conversations go. And I
What's
think
what it's
Joshua,
going to be like, because technically together can also be a metaphor for how together this show ends up being, because we can come into any episode with a topic in mind and then it'll have like 20 tangents, but it's up to me.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be up to me most of the time, like, let's just be frank. It'll be up to me most
Yeah.
of the time to be like, so tying it back to our original topic.
But so, to be clear about it too, that's how we are in our relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a mirror to how we function as a couple. You know? Which is, I think that's like very meta, and that's nice, and that's good. And I think, if anything, this podcast is just the celebration of our relationship. To me, that's what it is. And that's why I don't really mind doing whatever, because I just feel like this is a celebration of the relationship, and it's something that I'm going to enjoy doing. And if we have a podcast along the way, then why not, you know?
Well, it's just work to me. I'm just kidding.
I'm kidding.
Asshole.
Yeah, so... Okay,
No,
bye.
that's you calling me
No, I'm
asshole.
kidding. Okay.
Yeah,
That-
I was
and that is-
impersonating you.
that- Those are my cogs turning.
Ah.
Okay, well,
It doesn't
the
even have to
origin
be.
story. We can talk about the origin story. I think
Yeah.
mental health might be like, I mean, at this point, for me, it's the tank is empty too. I have just unloaded. Of course, it is an issue that deserves a conversation, which is what the point of it is now. But might be nice to start with origins in the first
Yeah, I mean, it's called
episode
intros
of this
after all.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we still
Alright.
edit that after? No, I put the banner thing. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's okay. Let's go.
Well, you did mention earlier we met at a tech show, which actually goes to show that, yeah, we're both in the same field. So that is
Yeah.
why. So we met at Computex, which I don't know about you. Like any of our techie friends who might be listening to this, or any techie fans even who might be listening to this, I'll go out on a limb here and say, there are obvious reasons for certain shows why you wouldn't like them, like CES is in Vegas, whole different situation. I literally got robbed in Barcelona, like many people do, and that makes me not the biggest fan of MWC every year. IFA, I mean, I personally just am not the biggest, like, Berlin's not my favorite city in the world, but there's nothing
I
wrong
really
with it.
like Berlin.
See, here's the
Weird.
thing. I like it too, but it doesn't excite me, you know?
I mean, I guess for me, considering that like tech shows are usually a high stress time, you know, and I still enjoyed it. Like I like the place. I mean, maybe it's the third world in me liking the efficiency. I honestly don't know, but I really enjoyed it. I was just like,
But what you just
nice
said
place.
is actually the reason why I adore Computex. Like, yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I'm not alone in thinking this, that it's my favorite tech show. And partially it's because, well, Taipei is an amazing place. I am biased towards Asian cultures, personally, I will admit that. But even then, Taipei as a city, it all comes together for that show. Every bus stop is for Computex. Every single building has signs telling you how to get to Computex. And it's like the entire city changes the same way that San Diego changes for Comic-Con. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And I love that. So I was already feeling nice and high being in a city that I like so much for the first time.
I guess for me it's a little different because I can literally buy a plane ticket before the pandemic. It was one of the cheaper destinations from Manila. So I could buy a ticket at $100. That would be a little more expensive because you can get it for certainly cheaper. So I have been to Taipei a couple of times, not Computex. And Computex for me is fun because of Innovex, because of all the weird, you know me, I like the weird stuff.
Yeah.
So Computex is mostly a computer show, which is why I'm like, I like it, but it's not at the top of my list in terms of content. Like, I skew towards consumer tech, weird stuff. Weird in my sense, right? The little cutesy whatever. And Innovex is my favorite part of Computex. The rest of it is like, it's fine, but it's not really my biggest forte. I mean, aside from I met you there, right?
Well,
Maybe
yeah.
that makes it my forte.
You know, and I'm very fortunate that during this crazy time that we're all in right now, that I've actually been able to branch out into new categories of tech for my channel, which include products and companies that go to Computex. And then this all happened and we couldn't go to there was just no chance of going to Taipei this year. So I was like, oh, well, I just got to work hard on all of these particular products, and then next year it'll be no question whatsoever. I'll be there. Anyway.
Yeah.
So these were the ways that we were kind of coming into this show, and at the time we were both actually working at publications. We weren't solo creators like we are now. The thing is, I went there alone, which was like the best thing.
I went there with a team.
She went there with the team, so you had friends, and I ended up hanging out with.
He
like,
had
a lot of
friends,
you.
us.
Exactly. That was what happened. I ended up gravitating towards you guys and hanging out the entire time with all of you.
And then
will
he
say
made me
though-
lande.
Yeah, pretty much. Explain that to our non-Filipino listeners.
I think you guys should just Google it.
Well, say it again then, so they can figure out how to spell it.
He made me lande. Or Joshua would say landy.
Yeah, I was being very landy. I was being super landy.
Uh-huh.
Well, you know that
I
what's
mean,
funny. What?
fine, I was too, but that was my general mode because I was
But it,
single
well, yeah.
and I'd been single for a while and it was fun.
Well, the thing
So, I
is, it
mean,
it took like the entire show for you to finally sort of like turn that on. Like you're generally flirty and you're generally fun. In my
yeah,
case,
people
though,
say I generally am a flirty person, but I feel like I'm just friendly and like generally open to like conversations and
oh,
stuff.
100%, yes. It's a little bit of
But
both.
I don't,
It's
yeah.
the whole idea that, well, here's the thing: the people who think you're flirty are the ones who can't tell that you're just being friendly. They just
Yeah, yeah,
assume.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so in my case, though, it took like the entire show up until maybe the last day of working for me to finally be like, okay, we have no more work to do. Let's just have fun together. And it ended up being like we hung out a lot and we went places. And you and I just, maybe a tiny bit was because your group was kind of pushing us together. But at the same time, it was like the two of us were like under umbrellas together and we were
Because
talking
they stole the umbrellas.
and we were literally just the two of us talking and
So I didn't want to get wet though. I'm kidding.
oh, so that's what it was. And you just
Yeah,
you're just
squishing
forced.
close because I did not want to get wet. It was very rainy.
It was that typical
kidding.
Taipei monsoon.
Yeah.
um
Typhoon.
but yeah,
I don't
typhoon.
know.
So we
I
found
don't
ourselves
know.
in situations where the two of us would just literally be talking like all the time, and we ended up talking about a lot of different things. And unfortunately for me, I was kind of going through something literally at that show. Like, on the topic of podcasts, anyone out there who knows where I used to work at Android Authority, that was actually that show. While I was working that show, miles and miles away from home, was when I was told that the podcast I started and cultivated at Android Authority was being canceled. So I was really beat up about that because it was a show I
You were
loved.
upset.
I was very upset.
You were upset. This was me coming. So I think Computex was one of my not my very first, like, was it my very first show? I'm not sure, but I was fairly new to tech. And I remember, so I didn't know who Joshua was, basically. Like, I knew who he was because I've seen tag photos and Joshua would claim that I stalked him. But I did not know the context of what that was, if that makes sense. I did not understand what it was, what he did, basically.
Fair.
Like, I didn't get it. I knew he made videos because he was making videos. I knew he did podcasts because there was talk about that podcast being killed. But as to how and what that podcast meant to him, I only understood slightly that it was important to him because he was that sad about it.
Yeah.
But like
And
the rest of it, the context of everything, I literally came into this thinking I would never see him again because I didn't realize how tech worked. How the tech like coverage worked. I didn't get like, oh yeah, so I didn't get that every year there was a show. Every year this was gonna happen. Like that there are friends you meet only on tech shows. I did not grasp any of that at this point.
well, even then, like it wasn't just that you learned there would be opportunities for us to see each other if we wanted that to happen. But even then, like for the months and months that followed that, we just kept talking. Like we were on Messenger all the time, and we just kept checking up on one another and getting into literally the conversations that you're hearing right now on the podcast, but in text form on Messenger.
Yeah.
Eventually, video calls became a thing, and like, yeah. So obviously, we met at Computex. We had like a lot of fun at Computex. We got to know each other a little bit. There's a really funny story of us like going to the hot springs, and I had to endure being in like the all male naked hot spring by myself while you had our friend Nicole with you.
That was
And
fun.
I was literally just like once we found out that we wouldn't be able to do a co-ed thing with bathing suits on, we could only go to the naked one with separate genders. You and Nicole were just like, have fun. I was just like,
So
no way.
okay. Funny story though, like now that I think about it, I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? I only ever met you and Nicole at that show. And then I'm like, sure, let's go to a naked hot spring. And then we were like at some point, no, I won't be naked because we can wear bikinis. And then at some point we were like, yeah, sure, I'll borrow bikinis from Nicole, which obviously, now that I think about it, would have fallen off like, okay, that's just like in the boob area alone. Like, I do not have boobs too, so it's like, why was this an unacceptable solution? And then we get to the hot spring, it's closed, and then we were like, let's just go to a local one where we can be naked. And then I, like, throughout everything though, I was just, let's go.
Yeah.
I was with people I just met in a foreign country about to get naked. And like, I remember at that point, I was just like, let's do it, adventure. Like,
Well, yeah.
it never occurred to me how weird, because at that point, there was no hesitation in my mind. Like, this sounds fun. But now that I think about it, there are so many, like, possible problems there.
Fair, but it was also with someone we knew that, well, I knew, and I obviously vouched for Nicole, having known her for years, and she's a
Yeah, but I
trustworthy-
didn't know either of you.
Well, fair, but still, like, you were with two people who everyone around you vouched for. That's the thing. So, like, there were...
Yeah, but I literally got in the cab and handed you all my Taipei money because I couldn't count. And I literally was just like, okay, let's go here. Hold my money. I don't know how to deal with this. Let's go to wherever we're going. And
Well,
there was a
then-
dog.
Well, then
I think it was a dog.
Well, then here you go. Like that, even at the very beginning of us just meeting each other, you were already knowing that I would be organized. Well, not really organized, but like I would be calculating with all of that stuff. So like, there you go. So there was a certain
But-
safety net that you felt from the beginning.
Yeah, but you know what it is though? It's like, you made me coffee.
I made everyone coffee that time. But you appreciated it more than anyone else. I will say that.
Because I
You
was
appreciate-
dying!
Yeah, you appreciated it very much. I made bulletproof coffee for everybody, and you actually appreciated it, even though it ended up being not something you want later on.
Yeah, I don't like bulletproof coffee, but it's like...
I don't have it very often myself these days either, but anyway. You know my favorite part about that hot springs story? Okay, in your case, it's... I find it funny that I did it not knowing who you were. I find it funny that I did it knowing that once we got back, we were going to board our planes immediately. So what
Yeah,
was
that's
so
true.
what was so funny to me was that we arrived, we said bye, we just came out of a sulfuric shit-smelling thing, and we couldn't take showers before we could go to the airport. I literally flew from Taipei back to Los Angeles with the sulfur still on my body. I feel really bad for whoever was sitting next to me. And then my brother and his now fiance picked me up, and they were like, "So what happened?" And of course, I told them that like I met somebody, and that was you. But then I kept thinking, do I reek right now? Did I bring Taipei with me literally?
You did.
I did. I really did. That's still my favorite part about that story, because it shows that we were just having a good time together, even the first time we saw each other, first time we met each other. We got we got 99-cent noodles that got rained on. Remember, we got rained in the noodles. We were
I
walking.
want those noodles.
I couldn't remember the
so
name of the
hungry.
place. We went to, like, we did karaoke, but the other thing we did was we kept walking around under that umbrella and just talking to one another. I gave you got a glimpse into the kind of person I am when I tried to teach you how to do walking meditation, because you were really stressed out about stuff too.
Oh yeah, I remember. Fuck
Yeah.
that.
You liked it a little. It's just not something you knew you would do often.
I
And
mean, I
then-
calmed down. It helped because I was just like very much annoyed. I was doing something else, like another aspect of the job that I did not enjoy, and I have sworn off these days, and it was just like I hated it. But yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did all of that. Then the hot springs, and then going home, and yeah, we just kept talking on Instagram, on Messenger, on Facebook Messenger, and there was like months and months of us talking, sort of figuring out just our own sides of what we were up to. I was assessing what would end up becoming my exit from my place of work, and you talked me through so much of that. And that was actually that night when we were outside of that really dope bar that had like the
I was
Szechuan
very
pepper
drunk.
vodka.
I
Yeah,
was
you were
very drunk.
you were really drunk.
I was
pretty tipsy,
so
but
drunk.
even in your drunkenness, you were literally still talking me through what I was feeling at the time, which was very significant. It's something that I always remembered. And that was part of the reason why I was like, a few days later, I want to spend more time with this person. Like, I made it very clear that I wanted to spend more time with this person. And then we kept talking online, and it just sort of blossomed into this thing. And I don't remember. I think I've asked you this one time before. Do you ever remember? Okay, let me see how I can word this. I remember the first time that it became clear to me that we felt a certain way about each other, and I can share that story a little bit later. But do you remember when we started saying babe?
I don't know. I really don't know how
It
that
just seemed
happened.
to yeah, exactly. It just seemed to come up, right?
I also refused to call people babe before you. Like, I actively said no to it. So I don't know how this happened. Because I've always, you might know this, but I'll just put it out there because I'm sure Joshua has learned about this. But I refuse to do certain things because I personally find it corny.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, maybe it's being stubborn, but that's how I am.
It is.
You're not helping. But no, but that is the way I am. And for a while, babe was one of those things, and I'm like, no. I don't know. You get corny when you end up in a relationship. I don't know, you guys. Like,
I feel like, yeah, I don't remember when it started happening, but I remember when I finally noticed it. And I remember telling somebody, like, it's been a long time since I've called someone babe. And yeah, I wasn't swearing off the word, but it was significant that I started noticing it. That was my whole thing. What I do remember is that something good happened. I'm trying to remember what it was. Or we were both, like, talking about something, and we were both, like, celebrating something. And I remember saying, like, I'm XYZ. And then you responded with...
wait.
Okay.
Give me a second. Earphone situation. Hello. Am I on? Can you say something now?
I don't know where. You sound tinny, though.
No, because
you need to use the laptop mic.
I need to switch ears. What is going on? The Okay, welcome to our relationship. Basically, Joshua troubleshooting my shit half of the time. It got disconnected. I basically use the AirPods when I'm on the laptop because it's the easiest to connect.
I do remember the other significant moment when it became clear to me that we had certain feelings for one another. It was when we were texting each other. I don't remember what situation caused this conversation, but I said, like, I am feeling like a great XYZ. Like, something happened that I was saying, like, oh, I feel great. And then you said, you're my great. Like, I said, I feel like I was saying something like, I'm something man. Like, the end was man, right? But then you said, you're my XYZ man. That was what you said.
Wow!
Yeah.
Props to past Isa. That's very...
It's very landy.
I was thinking of a different word, but sure.
But I remember... Yes, I remember that. I can probably go back in the messenger, like
Let's
chat
not go back in
and
the messenger
find it.
chat. Let's not find. I don't know what that chat has. What we
Fair.
said.
But I
don't
do remember when
know if I want to see it.
I do remember when you said that on the messenger chat. That was when I took a pause and I was like, oh, here we go. And like, okay, you can give your side of this next part. As we sort of like not really wrap it up, but like we're getting to the point now where it becomes official, right? Is I was on a trip with Huawei, and I was quite close with the PR people that were there. Like we're friends, like we're literally friends, because a few of them actually live in SoCal, so I was friends with them. And I was telling them, I asked them that for my flight, where is my return? Like, what's my connection? And they were like, oh, Hong Kong as usual. And I was like, do you think that you can make the connection Manila and then let me stay there for a few days? And then I can go back to LA from Manila. And they're like, we can figure that out. Let's see. Like, let us know when you want to leave Manila to go to LA, and then we can figure out everything in between. And I'm like, cool. Let me know how much it is, and I will 100% just like, let me pay for the interim. They're like, cool. I talked to Issa's colleagues about it, and I was like, hey, I want to do this. Can you help me out with it? And they're like, absolutely. I found an Airbnb, and then when I got the tickets, they were covered. Like, and my friend who worked in the PR agency that worked with Huawei just said, go have fun. Because I was telling her...
Go have fun.
Well, that was a weird way to put it.
Go have fun.
Because I was telling her that I was talking to somebody, and I think that this would be a nice way to surprise her, and this would also be a way for me to make it clear, like, I'm in it. Because if I show up in Manila to see somebody who I've been talking to online for months, that probably makes it clear I'm into this. Like, I'm in. Like, that's my way of showing it. So yeah.
So it's interesting, like, okay, this is funny because from your side, you see how you think, right? That's you thinking about it and, pointing out certain things that made you realize that this was what was happening. And I don't have that. It's literally we did it. And then I remember, and at this point, we were already together. The Manila thing had already happened. And it was fun and it was nice because, okay, putting this out there, guys, I have only recently learned the art of introspection. I used to never do that. So, like, versus Joshua, who, like, at every step of the way tries to think about the stuff that's going on, that's happening, how he's attacking it. I'm literally just going with stuff, right? And I remember, so I was, and it was fun, and I'm like, yeah, we're doing it because, this feels right. Oh, it feels right. But I remember actually the first time I had ever flown to the US for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it was for work, but it was also very mostly for you. I remember being on the plane on the second leg. And it took like the second freaking leg, okay? This was like freaking Taipei to Manila, not even like Manila to Taipei. This is the second leg. And I literally was on the plane on the way to another continent in my seat thinking, am I really flying to another country for a person? Like, is this really happening and how did we get here? That was literally my process. And this was months in. This was like me already on the freaking plane.
Yep.
It wasn't the buying the ticket.
I had already like you said, I had already gone to Manila. We spent a few days together, like out of surprise. I just showed up, right?
Yeah. So it was like a lot of the things that happened to me felt like it was happening and I'm taking it. And then finally at some point it was me doing this. That at some point I had to pause and think about. Because I can be very weird in relationships. I know this because I feel like I had been a strong independent woman for such a long time, and even in previous situations I was a strong independent. I'm putting that in quotation marks because when I say that I mean a certain thing that maybe people who are listening will get further on in the context of who I am, or maybe the people who are listening have their own versions of what a strong independent woman is, but I specifically have a version in my head. And like, so I was that for the longest time, even in previous relationships, and never did I think that at some point I would fly for someone. Like, I can be very proud in the things I do for people and the things that I do not for myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, does that make sense to you? Like, it's so for me to actually just be on a plane on the way to someone was actually a very significant thing in that I would never have done it for someone else. So
that was.
But it's. I'm sorry. Go.
No, I was just gonna say. So that was when the sort of hit you was the final leg, because that would be the final leg to LA.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I was in it, but I never thought about it. Like, versus you, who, as you went through it, thought about. Babe, I am the type of person who gets into shenanigans without realizing it, and I'm there. I was literally in the hot spring with Nicole naked in another country with a friend I just met. So this is like how I am in general.
Yeah.
So like, it's allowing things to happen and taking it and going with it and enjoying it. But then at some point, that's when I realized, oh, this is happening. So it's like, so you see how the processes are different, and that alone should be able to tell you what this circling back, what this podcast will be and how it will sound like. Thank you. So,
and you know what? Just to, not that I feel like I have to defend myself, but I just want to clarify for anybody who might be thinking that, like, she's the fun one and I'm rigid. Here's the thing.
Oh no.
I go with the flow, but I'm the one who along the way is hyper aware of what is around me, what is the circumstances, what, like, not necessarily escape routes are, but like, what can I do if this doesn't work out? You know?
I really need that. Damn it, decide. I really need that in my life a lot. It's not to say he's not fun. That's not what I'm saying. I'm
not saying that
I'd
you
be
are.
with someone who's not.
I know some people would take that the wrong way. Like.
Yeah. No. Definitely not. I think one of the things that, so aside from so my main thing is I need to be with someone who I can have relationships with, but it's also I need to be someone I can have adventures with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I found that in you.
Oh.
Oh crap!
Hold on.
Do this.
How do I?
Like this.
This one. There you go.
Oh, they can't see it.
Did you see that? Did you see how I did that? Here, bring it up.
Yeah, not to your face.
There you
Okay,
go.
for people who are listening, we're making a heart with our hands.
But you know what? Did you see how that happened? Again, we keep trying to connect what technically together is going to be. Do you see how Isa keeps trying something and it doesn't quite work out, and then she figures it out afterwards? Did you see what I did just now? I brought both hands up and I looked at my video and I was like, which one is moving? Oh, this one. So clearly this is the one that'll...
So I guess, again, that's how it works though.
I
just keep trying and he assesses, then he tries, which is, okay, so a lot of people are like, I mean, I don't know if a lot of people are like, I don't know, I just said that. See? One thing is, I value how different we are too, though. Like, I learned so many things just by being with you. And I feel like when we have these conversations, I grow. You know?
I know everything,
and that's
so I don't grow in these conversations.
but I mean, that is one thing I really value in relationships, because you need to be with someone who grows with you, and even like with you, how do I say this? With you, and with you. With you, and with you, Like,
can that be the title of this first podcast? Is with you.
Wait, I'm trying to think. Wait, with you.
Okay.
Together?
Trying to grow alongside you and together.
Yes! See, this is how the relationship is. When I say with you, he says with you alongside and together.
Yes. So we could be growing as individuals alongside one another.
Together.
And then there are times when we can grow together in the same aspect.
Yes!
Yes.
You know what I'm saying.
I really want the title of this podcast.
You know what it is.
I really want the title of this podcast to be With You, With You.
Because you are... okay, in Tagalog, there is a term where it means like... How do I say this? Roughly translated, it's saying like, you're strong for me. I'm just gonna say it, kasi malakas ka sa akin.
Oh yeah, I know that phrase. Yeah, I know that phrase.
Yeah. What did you want the title to be?
I should say I did not know that phrase because you said malakas sa akin.
What?
I thought it was going to be matapang sa akin.
No, what? No, that is not a phrase.
And matapang is for is like taste. Is like it's
No, matapang is like, oh, I see why you're confused. Matapang is strong and malakas is strong.
Yeah, exactly.
Matapang is more of like brave.
Oh, really?
Fierce. Matapang is fierce. Sorry, matapang is fierce.
I've heard that used
Malakas is strong.
Yeah, but matapang I've heard used for like coffee.
Yeah, because you're saying strong coffee.
Exactly. So that's why I was like, you're strong for me. You know what I mean?
In that context, oh, yeah, I see why you're confused.
Yeah.
This
but the
is
thing is, it's
like-
not an idiom. It's just what we're saying. It's not an idiom. The idiom is malakasa. Yeah, I get that.
Here, I made it for you.
Made what? Oh, there.
Made it for you.
No comma. It's funnier without the comma.
God. So you're making everything so specific. Okay, here. Okay, for people who are not watching, well, watch so you get to see. I'm kidding. That's not how it works, huh?
No,
That's
you
not
can
how
say that. Like,
entice
make sure you
people
go
to podcasts.
Yeah, make sure you go to the YouTube channel because like there's
We
actually
have a YouTube channel.
yeah.
This is the announcement. Okay, announce it.
Oh, okay, there you go. Technically Together also has a YouTube channel. So if you're looking for even more of the, let's call it flavor text, behind
Flavor
the words.
text.
Yeah, flavor text. It's a term. If you're looking for even more of the flavor text, and by that I mean like us literally reacting or our facial expressions or anything that might be visual.
Oh, you mean flavor text, not this text. You mean like, I'm confused. Okay, go on. Sorry, I'll learn.
Well, basically, if you're looking for even more more of a dynamic sense to the words you might be listening to right now, there's the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is very new, so you can find the URL in the show notes of the podcast. And also, just follow.
I don't know what show notes are, but people keep saying that. I'll figure it out.
It's the
I work. Okay.
When you upload this podcast, babe, it's the description. Same thing as on YouTube.
Okay.
There's a description.
Okay.
So those are called show notes in the podcast world. So show notes, and also if you want to know where all of that is happening, you can. Ooh, the highball. You can also follow either Isa or myself or both of us, because we're technically together, on social media. So Twitter and Instagram and whatnot. So you can, I don't know, like, might be a good idea to make.
Did I make it? I made it, right? I made them. I think I made them. I just put it down below.
Yeah, we could.
We also don't have a logo. We'll figure it out along the way.
Well, I thought we had a logo earlier when we did like a half and half face thing, but.
Oh, we could use. You're right, but maybe we can do this as. Ah! Sorry, I keep on doing the wrong side. Maybe we can just do this.
It's left hand because I did the test like a bunch of times.
Do it. Look.
But my mic.
Okay,
my
what's
mic is in
going
the
on?
way. There you go.
This looks weird.
Well, because I don't have the same. There you go. Hey, that actually kind of works.
Wait, make it closer. There. Who's gonna take the photo?
Well, you're gonna get the. just clip it out of the video file.
One day.
And look at how she
Well,
reacts to a corny thing.
What?
You were just saying earlier. Even though it was your idea, you're still laughing at it because you think it's ridiculous.
I'm laughing at it ironically. It's funny. Wait, I think we're about to end.
Yes.
I mean, the podcast is about to end. We're never ending. What?
Oh, look at that commitment. The it might be a good idea for you to
Welcome.
it might be a good idea for you to have an outro ready for future.
What do you mean outro? Like, this is the outro. Goodbye. And then we cut.
You clock? Yeah, great outro, babe.
We cut. No, is it? No, I mean, wait. How do we end like? Trying to remember how you end. It's been so long, babe. I miss you. I can't remember how you ended podcasts.
Do you want me to just do it?
Okay.
All right. Well, that was your first episode of Technically Together with JV and Issa. Do you want to go Issa Does Tech? What moniker do you want to use for these things? What's the official?
I have not thought about this.
Okay, well, JV and Issa are technically together, and this was your first. Wait, oh no, I can think of this on the fly. Give me a second. Thank you for listening to this episode of Technically Together. That's us, JV and Issa, because we are technically together. Follow the podcast on all platforms, including the audio that you might be listening to now, but there's also a YouTube channel where you can literally see us talking about all of this on video. But we also have social media for it, and all of those links are in the show notes. From there, you can also follow myself and Issa on social media all over the place. Issa, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
At Cisa Said on Instagram and Twitter. I have Isa Does Tech on YouTube for the tech stuff, and Isa Does for everything else.
Mm-hmm. All right, well...
But also, that was brilliant.
What was?
That was a brilliant extra until I ruined it just now, but go on.
Well, you can follow me on social media as well. You know me, I'm JV. I love tech, and I love to drink me some tea, and that is why my handle is JV Tech Tea. From there, you can find me on YouTube as well at youtube.com/Joshua Vergara. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Technically Together because
I did.
we both did. It was a good first episode. We hope you enjoyed being technically together with us on this episode.
It's getting brillianter and brillianter, and brillianter is not a word. Okay.
And with all of that
Awesome.
said, we'll get together again on our next episode.
Bye. Not you though, just them.
Yes.
Okay, bye. Okay, wait. And